The last 2 weeks we did something a little unusual. One week we talked about pitfalls, missed shots, scratches, things like that. And then last week I did what I called wow shots, just recovery shots, cool and fun shots. Still going to do something a little bit unusual today. I want to look at 2 racks, but let's look at each rack in a run. This is 2 weeks ago I ran 71. So it was 5 racks. So what you're looking at right now is the first 5 racks. On the top of your screen is rack number 1, then the next one's number 2, number 3, 4, and 5. So the first rack, you can see I had a fairly good angle on a high break ball. The second rack, I had a very good angle on a center break ball. I had a little bit sharper angle on a good break ball in rack number 3. Rack number 4, I was a little bit out of line. Cue ball's on the rail. I would have preferred it to be out here, but a healthy angle on that ball. If you pocket the ball, you're going to open the rack. Rack number 5, shallow angle on the break ball, and I'm pretty close to it. How much better would this break shot have been here? Now, the run ended on this rack. Is that related to the break shot? I'm going to say yes, it was. Anytime you have a shallow angle break shot, it doesn't mean you're not going to get through the rack. It means your chances are reduced. And so when you get a shallow angle break shot, you need to give it your all. You need to recognize that it's a lower percentage break shot and do your best to either get the rack open by hitting it harder or hitting it in a controlled fashion, knowing that you're going to need to shoot a re-break shot. So the question is, did the break shot determine the success of these racks? I kind of think it did. Let's take a look at the result of each break shot. In this next column, I'm only showing the result of the break shots for racks 2, 4, and 5. And that's because all of those were clustered to somewhat clustered. The other 2 racks opened very well on the break shots. These 3 did not. Now, 2 of them were pretty good break shots. Rack 2 and 4 were not bad. And you notice I've got a pretty big cluster here with rack 2. Not so much with 4, but a pretty tight cluster with rack 5. So each of those racks I needed to shoot a re-break shot quickly. In rack number 2, I fortunately had a shot on this, I believe that's a 4 ball on the side, and then I made position for this stripe in this corner and shot with a high ball, and that opened up this rack. We'll take a look at the result of that. And so in 2 shots, I got this rack open. This rack here, my only shot was to shoot this ball in the side pocket. A little bit of a delicate, tricky shot, elevated over some balls, but I had a good result after that. In rack 5, this is the cue ball, and I had to shoot the 3, draw the cue ball over here, and then tap in the 12 to get a window on this 11 ball. And then with the 11 ball, I was able to open these somewhat. Let's take a look at the result now of all 5 racks after the re-breaks. Rack number 1 was the easiest of all of them. This is the result after the break shot. Right here is the cue ball. So I already have a break ball here and a possible key ball for the break ball. It's very likely that one of these balls could be nudged into a break ball position as well. But all these balls have pockets. I just need to clear paths to pockets. In other words, once this ball's gone, and these 2, then the 10 has a pocket. These balls have a pocket then. These balls have a pocket the other way once that's gone. Or this could be opened up with just some gentle nudging. So there's no big problems. There's nothing that really has to be solved. We're going to take a look at this rack, and I run through it pretty quickly. Rack number 2 is pretty good as well. The cue ball's right here. I have a shot on the 8 or the 1. I remember that I do shoot the 1 ball, go to the bottom rail to shoot these 2. Once again, once the 8's gone, then these balls have a pocket. Once those are gone, these balls have a pocket this way. I have a potential break ball here. I actually end up breaking this rack with this ball, I believe. And so there's no big problems to solve, and that's the key. After your break shot, if you see these types of layouts, those should be very high percentage racks. Now this rack number 2 right here, that wasn't the result after the break shot, but I had to re-break it. But after the re-break, the result was great, and that great meaning paths to pockets for all balls once blockers are removed, and possible break balls already in position. That's what you're looking for. Rack number 3, this was the result after the break shot. Pretty ideal. Here's the cue ball, potential break ball already. Not a tight cluster. These are very manageable. Same thing. You want to look for blocker balls, clear past the pockets. Try and run the balls without bumping anything. I do have to nudge these two balls apart, but that's not too difficult, and I found a way to do it without any trouble and with insurance. Rack number 4, same type of thing. Now I did have to do, this is not really a re-break, but kind of. When I shot this ball on the side, that nudged these two stripes apart into these positions, as you can see. Once that was done, look at the rack now. Every ball has a pocket, and I have 3 potential break balls. So when you have those conditions, very high percentage chance of getting through that rack. Rack number 5, not so much. And rack number 5 was the one with the shallow break shot. So I had to shoot, as I mentioned, I had to shoot these 3 shots to get a re-break. This is the result of the re-break, which is not a good result. I still have 2 balls here that don't have pockets. These 2 balls don't have pockets. These 2 balls can go in this pocket once these are gone. This stripe is not a great break ball, and that's my only potential break ball at this time. You can't see it, but I also knocked 2 balls up table in this direction and this direction. We're going to look at this rack as well. But this is something I've really been paying attention to a lot. Table complexion. So compare these 5 tables after they've been, for the most part, solved. These 4 have a very good table complexion. Break balls, paths to pockets, opportunities. No big problems. This table, big problems. My point is this. I tried to pick my way through this rack, and I didn't get there. And I really tried. We're going to take a look at it, and almost did get there. But you want your racks to have, you want your tables to have a good complexion. That's when you're going to have a highest percentage chance of getting out. And so the lesson for me is, when you're to this point in a rack, and the complexion of the table still isn't good, I think you need to be more aggressive. I tried to pick my way through this rack, and what I probably should have done is try to blast at it with a little more aggression and not try to shoot these balls from where they were, but move them. I think I would have had a much better chance of getting through rack number 5. Let's take a look at those 2 racks. A very high break ball, but I like my chances with this. This is a high ball. Cue ball should hit the top of the rack and then curve to the rail. It didn't make it to the rail. It curved straight into the rack. As I mentioned, this opened really well. And I'm thinking right away, this is break ball, this is key ball. And so what do I do here? Oh, okay, just nudge into these. I've got insurance balls in every direction. I'm looking at these 2 balls go here. The 3 ball goes there right now. And I might play position for that 3 right now, do I? Yeah, that's position for the 3. Once the 3's ball's gone, then both of these balls go there. That's what I'm talking about. Pass to pockets and get rid of blocker balls. That's what you're looking at when you have an open rack like this. Okay? Now what I want to do probably is get rid of this 15 because it's blocking the pocket for the 7, and then the 7's blocking for the 8. So there you go. Move the 7. Now once I shoot this ball, the 15, then that goes. Now I'm going to the 1 instead of the 15, which is perfect straight pool because the 1 is automatic position on these balls. So this is just, I mean, this was a rack that almost shoots itself. It opened up real well, and you just manage, there's many ways to run it, but you just manage the cue ball, minimal cue ball movement, keep the cue ball alive, open paths to pockets. Now I'm taking a moment to look because I want to have a good end pattern, and there's 2 ways to end your end pattern here. So I'm coming over and getting the 4 ball right now. Why don't I pause this once real quick? There's 2 ways to end your end pattern. One is to end it on the 6, and then you either bring your cue ball up this way off the bottom rail or spin it 2 rails to get on your break shot. The other way is to use this ball as your key ball. If that's your key ball, then you want to keep one of these balls or even one of these. diagonal from the pocket is where you want your K2. So I want to keep one of these balls to have very easy and natural position on this ball on the side. Or I would play position for probably the 4 or the 8, I don't know. I want to play position for a shallow angle to stun the cue ball up here, and then shoot the 14 bounce off the rail for my break shot. So those are the two potential key balls in my opinion, and a couple of different routes to get on them. So you need to decide that right now, which way are you going to go? And I don't remember which way I go, so let's find out. But we should be able to tell once I shoot a couple of shots. This is positioned on the 6. That's the most natural. So now we know that I'm using this as my key ball. But am I going to play it in the side or the corner? Let's see. Okay, this has probably got to be, I probably got to come this way. That was a careless shot. I should have taken a little more time. But yeah, that way for the 7. Now, how do I want to get up? Okay, I'm going to play it in the corner. And the reason why is that I'm looking at the angle for the 8 in the side. So on this, you want to be just below the shot line to the pocket. That way your cue ball goes this way when you shoot with follow. And I stun that forward instead of rolling it. That's your best way to have control. So now I've got the perfect angle, and I looked real quickly. You want to be on this side of the shot line to the 14 in the corner. And you don't want to have too big of an angle, but this is perfect. You can hold it. So how easy was that rack? And why was it that easy? The reason why was because of this. A good break shot, and then struck well to give an ideal result after the break shot. That's why. Let's go look at the last rack. Okay, shallow angle on the break shot. I believe what I'm going for is maximum separation. So I'm probably going to use left English, and I'm just trying to get the cue ball into the corner ball. That was not maximum separation. That was control. I like that. So in other words, I didn't try to hit it with max power. What I tried to do was knowing that I'm very likely to knock a ball or two loose from the bottom row. I'm just trying to play position with the cue ball here so I have a shot. And then I also know I'm going to knock a couple balls loose from the other side. So I know that it's low percentage break shot, and that's what I played for. So that's a good plan. What I notice right now is that if I can get this window on this 11, I can go up into the bottom of this cluster with the 6 ball as an insurance ball. At least that's what I'm thinking about. So draw the cue ball back. I'm trying to get on the 12. I don't want to be dead straight because I don't want to shoot the 11 from off the rail. But I'm looking at that window, and sure enough, if I can I'll just tap the 12 in and I'll have that angle. Now, when I get that angle on this 11, what I initially wanted to do was hit it with a good draw stroke and draw the cue ball back, but then I lose position on the 6 as an insurance ball, and I could easily draw the cue ball off the 14 and scratch or just have nothing. And so I decide instead to shoot it with a straight right English, so go to this side rail and out to center table. And that's pretty much what I got. I mean, you can't really expect too much better than that. But as I mentioned, you can see now 2 balls came up table. And that's okay. I can deal with those easily enough. But what should have happened is this should have set off alarm bells. This isn't an open situation like the previous 4 racks. This is a very low percentage rebreak, and it spells trouble. I work really hard and get through this rack, and that's why I want to show it, because it's kind of fun. But the odds were against me from the start. I wonder, now I don't think I shoot the 10, and I probably should have shot the 10 with a good draw stroke trying to open up all these balls. In other words, just get real aggressive. And I didn't. I went with a high ball on the 6 because I thought, I'm going to hit pause real quick. I thought that the cue ball was going to hit this 5 thinner, so the 5 would go this way, but then the cue ball would go this way because I've got 2 balls to play position on here, if not the 10 ball as well. That's what I was trying to do. Didn't hit it well. I think an aggressive shot would have been better. Kind of fortunate that I've got a shot on this 8, but that 8 ball is going to open up these 2 clusters, Those two are both going to be open after I shoot the 8, and I'll only have to deal with this one. So I'm not feeling that bad. This is position, and I barely made it, so made that ball. But this is position on the 2. Now I can open up these. So I think I'm in good shape here. I've had 3 clusters, and in 3 shots, all 3 clusters are going to be open. Now I'm trying to hit the high side of this 4 so the cue ball comes this way. Like that. That's my best chance to get a shot. However, you look at me, I'm a little bit dejected at the result because I was hoping to separate these balls and get one of these over here for a break shot. That didn't happen, so the chances of getting through this rack remain low till I get a good break shot. Now, in hindsight, it's always easy in hindsight, isn't it? But in hindsight, this 9 ball is a good break ball. What I should have done is worked harder. Well, I worked hard. But had I gotten these balls open without making a side of rack break shot, I could have used one of those to stop the cue ball in the rack as my last ball, so I get ball in hand on the 9 ball as a break shot. Just presenting that as one opportunity. I'm still looking at, okay, this ball is not a good break shot. This is a big problem. So I'm going to shoot this ball. I think I'd shoot it now. Yeah. I shoot it now and try and draw into these to try and knock the 4 ball over for a break shot, hoping the cue ball stops close to here and my insurance balls are the 1 over in the corner or the 10 in the side. I think that's a pretty good plan. So I'm still feeling pretty confident about this rack. Didn't work out at all. So now this is like plan C or D. This is my 4th recovery shot maybe. I mean, the chances are getting lower as these balls get eliminated. So now my only chance is to try what I did before with the 10 ball, knock that 4 ball over and didn't get it. Not even close. I was afraid of hitting the bottom side of this 13 because if you cut the 10 and hit the bottom side of the 13, then your cue ball goes behind in the 1 and you're done. So I made sure that didn't happen, and this is the result. I'm still not in that bad of shape. I make a mistake here, I think. Again, it's always easy in hindsight when you're looking at it with hindsight. What I'm saying to myself now, and I'm checking to make sure which of these are out of the rack. The 1 ball is out of the rack, I think, and the 13's in, I think is what I determined. And so I'm thinking I'm going to break the rack with the 1 ball from below. I can follow the cue ball forward, and I go look at the angle right now to shoot the 13 here, and then I'm hoping to draw back from the 13 to shoot the 7, then shoot the 9 in the side or the corner, but probably the side, come over here, shoot the 5, follow down to the bottom rail and off, and I'm on my 1 ball break shot. That's my end pattern right now. That's my plan. So I'm still feeling pretty confident, even though this is not that easy of a rack. So here's where I need to get on the 13 so I can shoot the 13 without bumping the 1. So I'm really making a point, where do I need to get it? And I'm really visualizing that to make sure I get there. And I don't want to get too far because then I'm hooked behind the 1 and I don't have a shot. And the result is no good. Darn it. So, I mean, you could say the failure point of this rack is that I didn't follow far enough to get straight in on the 13. Well, that's a cop-out because that was tough, and this was a tough rack to begin with. It was going to be tough no matter what. Who knows if any of the other options that I've mentioned up to this point would have made this a successful rack. Anyway, let's look at this. So now I'm looking at it, and then this is recovery shot double Z or something, I don't know. And I'm thinking, okay, I can cut the 13 with draw, bring the cue ball up center table, and possibly knock the 1 ball one rail or 2 rails over here for a break shot. That's what I'm thinking. And I hit that way too soft. If I had hit that harder, look at the route the 1 ball was taking. It might have been okay, but it wasn't. So now we're playing triple Z. So I'm looking at this and thinking, now this is my break ball. If I can get close to stop shot on the 7 as my key ball, I can shoot the 9 ball in this side pocket and use a follow stroke to get into the rack. Alternatively, if I get more of an angle on the 7, then I can cut the 7 and let the cue ball float over here. Shoot the 9 ball in this side pocket and have a break shot. Okay, those are not bad. So how do I accomplish those? Well, the 1 ball's an easy shot. Tap the 1 ball in, come over here, 2 rails, get an angle on the 5. That's what's critical, so that I can come across table for the 7. Can you guess what happens? I barely make the 1. It looks to me in watching the video that I tried to float the cue ball to here, and then of course it's going to go too far and lead me straight in. The correct way to play that is, like I said, 2 rails, because if you hit this rail, then you're much more likely to bounce off the rail far enough to have the angle you need to come across table. Didn't happen. If I felt more confident, I think I've got enough angle on this 5 to follow forward with a lot of spin to come over for the 7. I didn't feel like taking that shot on. What I thought from this point, recovery shot, quadruple Z, was that I'm going to use the 9 to get on the 7, draw back from the 7, and I'll bank the 5 ball cross side and go behind the rack, which is not the break shot that you want, which is part of the reason why this rack comes to an end. And this is not bad at all, and I hope I take a look. Yep, there's where I want to be. In other words, either on the line of the side pockets or just past it. That's going to give me enough angle to bank the 1 and go behind the rack. And can you guess what happens? I don't come far enough. But it'll still work. Look at this cut angle compared to this cut angle. It's a dramatic difference. Now, it's still a pretty makeable bank shot, and it's a high run attempt. I got to go for it. But if I drawn the cue ball farther, I think this run had a much better chance of continuing. When you shoot this bank shot, you've got to use a high ball and a nice good high stroke, because you're going to be hitting it somewhat thin, and that cue ball can go around the rack real easily. So by using a high ball, the cue ball is going to hit the rail, and it's going to curve a little bit into the second rail. You're going to get a little bit of that top spin curve, and then the outside English, because you're going to have left English on it, is going to take it into the bottom of the rack. And so I get the cue ball pretty well, but I think I overcut this. It's hard to judge because you're trying to gauge the speed and the spin and the top English, and it's just hard to hit it accurately from this angle. Yeah, overcut it a little bit. Did I scratch? No, I didn't scratch. Now, had I made the break shot, look at the result. Sure enough, there's a big cluster here, but I've got a lot of open balls. Had I made the 5 ball bank, I would have a shot on the 7 or the 9 or possibly the 6, and I bet I would shoot the 9, draw back, and have a shot on the 13 or the 6 to re-break. Real good chance of getting through the rack. But this is what good straight pool or getting a long run is about, is looking at the table complexion, evaluating what my odds are of getting through that rack based on the things that I've been talking about, and then making a decision about how aggressive you want to be with moving balls. I think I made a good decision on this break shot to play with control, but then when I got to this point, when I got to this point, I think I should have played more aggressively here. So you saw how any of those shots during this rack, if they had just worked out a little bit better, I might have gotten through the rack with a normal break shot. But I think the complexion of the rack at this point warranted more aggression. And I like shooting the 14 with draw and power, just draw stroke into this 9 ball, and that would kind of move these balls a lot more. Or even cutting the 6 with draw, because then the cue ball would hit the 5 and then go up. Let me clear this. If you shoot the 6 with draw, then the cue ball would come up this way and have a better chance of opening these. So I think getting more aggressive with this. Let's see if evaluating the complexion of the table and making those kinds of decisions helps you and I get some longer runs. Thanks for watching. See you next week on Rack of the Week.